Welcome to the American Families of Faith Project audio article series. This series is led by Lauren Marks and David Dollahite, co-directors of the American Families of Faith Project at Brigham Young University. Each article has previously been published in various scholarly journals, online magazines, and newspapers.
Hello, my friends. This is Dave Dollahite. I'm a professor of family life at Brigham Young University and co-director of the American Families of Faith Project, along with my friend and colleague, Dr. Lauren Marks. And this is audio article number 31, Jewish Families, How Teachings and Traditions Strengthen Marriage and Family Life. This article was published in Public Square magazine on September 14th, 2021, written by myself, Dave Dollahite, and Lauren Marks. In various publications, we are on record about our profound respect for the Jewish faith and Jewish families. This includes an article in the official newspaper of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where Dave encouraged fellow Latter-day Saints to, quote, learn from our Jewish friends about how to make the Sabbath a delight, end quote. We sometimes are asked why we have such appreciation for our Jewish friends and their faith. It is a long story, but it starts with the fact that Dave's godmother is Jewish. When, as an infant, Dave was to be baptized in the Episcopal Church, Dave's mother Elizabeth insisted that his godmother be her best friend Ann Scinski. This was despite the fact that Father Ewald, the priest who baptized Dave, insisted that only a baptized and confirmed Christian could be a godparent for a Christian baptism. Elizabeth's love of Anne and of the Jewish faith influenced Dave throughout his youth. When Dave converted to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at age 19, his love and appreciation for Judaism only increased to the point that he later spent a year studying prayer book Hebrew with Cookie Cohen at Beth David Synagogue in Greensboro, North Carolina, and several months studying Torah and Talmud with Rabbi Chaim Edelman at the Orthodox Chabad House in Amherst, Massachusetts. In a class at BYU called Family and World Religions, Dave teaches extensively about Jewish family life. Marriage and family life in strong Jewish families. As part of our American Families of Faith National Research Project, we have conducted in-depth interviews, about 2 hours, with 30 American Jewish families who rabbis had recommended to us as good examples of strong Jewish families. The families welcomed us into their homes and shared the ways that their religious beliefs and practices influenced their marriage and family lives. We are grateful to them for their generosity and their insights. Interviewees belong to three main branches of Judaism: Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox. There are important similarities, yet some meaningful differences in the ways that people from the Reform, Conservative, and Orthodox branches live out their Judaism. Because many Orthodox Jews write the divine name G-D in order to respect the name of the Lord, we follow that practice in the direct quotes below. We believe in allowing participants in the American Families of Faith Project to have their own voice as much as possible. After quoting a Jewish young man on the power of religious ritual, an important part of life for many Jewish persons, we then share first-person quotes from a number of Jewish spouses about their marriages. And then we share a number of quotes from Jewish parents and adolescent children about parenting. Based on the participant reports, Jewish rituals and traditions enabled families to celebrate times of joy and to cope with difficulty, pain, and loss. A youth named Caleb from the Reform branch shared how Jewish ritual helped him cope with the violent death of his uncle. Quote, I had an uncle who was murdered. I found comfort in the ritual that's associated with death. It really helped me deal with the suddenness and the sadness of it. The burial ritual, the funeral ritual, the Shiva ritual of staying home with family for 7 days are things that help me cope in the short term. And during the service, the Kaddish prayer, the prayer for memory or prayer for the dead, was very comforting for me. It's not that I necessarily believe that there is a God listening to my prayers. It's more that the comfort of doing something that I've done all of my life has made it comfortable and given me the space to deal with those kinds of trying situations. End quote. Relational strengths in marriage. The three sub-themes related to marriage include A. marriage is sacred. B, ritual facilitates relational success. And C, relational success is a duty. Theme 1, marriage is sacred. A sacred and idealized view of marriage was offered by Mariah, an Orthodox wife, who expressed how sharing a religious identity with one's spouse can enrich marriage. Quote, I believe that we're supposed to try to find a partner to share life with on the deepest level, the joyous things that life will bring us, and then the incredible challenges that will certainly come. If you share the religious, if you have that in common, a religious level, a spiritual level, the joys will be even more joyful and more enriching, and the really difficult times will be more bearable because you have each other, end quote. Eli, an Orthodox Jewish husband, stated, quote, the purpose of marriage is to increase the holiness of human relationships. We hope to have an emotional, intellectual, and spiritual dimension where we help each other and try to ascend to a higher level, or at least become more what we should be, end quote. Leah, a conservative wife, similarly expressed how she experienced holiness in her marriage. Quote, I have felt metaphorically the hand of God at very pivotal moments in life. I mean, one can be together in a room and have little emotional contact, but there clearly have been times when the contact between us has been so strong and so different. I look at those times as experiences when my husband and I were connected more than usual, and those would be the times that we were closer to God and each other, and we were moving toward being more holy individuals and as a couple. I think that those times, coincidentally, some of them definitely did come as a result of religious observance, end quote. Theme 2, ritual facilitates relational success. Tevye, a Reformed husband, explained how sharing Judaism had unified his marriage to Ruth. Quote, there's a lot of stuff I think we take for granted about our relationship in terms of knowing that we're on the same page with stuff. We don't even need to talk about it. We're on the same page. We just know that if my wife said, I want to stay home this Saturday and just observe Shabbat at home, she knows I'm there. If she wanted to do something at the synagogue, we go, end quote. In response to the question, are there ways that your religious beliefs or practices help you to avoid or reduce marital conflict? Aisha responded, quote, the first thing that comes to mind is the routine. And another thing that I've come to understand and believe is that religious belief and truly religious moments don't just come from nowhere. One has to be in the habit of religious practice and religious observance. If you wait for the mood to hit you, it never will. But if you go, if you observe, if you practice on a regular basis, then you're open to God. I think that our routine of going to synagogue every week, that it is something we do whether we really feel like it or not. It is what we choose to do. It's about the Sabbath. It's what you do on the Sabbath. It's such a calming experience when tensions are high, when frustration is high, end quote. For Israel, an Orthodox husband, the rules of Jewish tradition reportedly helped him and his wife avoid conflict. He explained, quote, things that might have been conflicts before aren't even issues because we know the rules. What are we doing on Saturday? Well, that's not an issue. Where and what are we eating? It's not an issue. This is the way it is. I want to go somewhere. We look at the calendar. Oh no, we can't go here because it's Yom Tov. It's a holiday. But it's okay. It's not a conflict between us. These are not issues because there's a higher authority that we all are agreed with. That's our priority. End quote. Theme 3, relational success is a duty. Tamara expressed, quote, I think one of the strong points of Judaism is the sense of personal responsibility. And certainly in any conflict we've had, it's been really important to own up to whatever part we have in the conflict. And that's something that comes straight from Judaism. That thought of, did I do something wrong? And if so, I need to fix it and apologize for it. As opposed to just, well, it'll go away, forget about it. And that's one of the things that I really admire about Jerry. He will always apologize. He will always say, I'm wrong, end quote. A conservative husband named Asher expressed how marriage comes with a responsibility to work through difficulties and preserve the marriage at all costs. he shared, quote, "Marriage is a sacred bond that should be upheld at all costs, if at all possible. I think from that perspective, my wife and I have worked on a lot and are continually working on the marriage. Because of that perspective, it is not something that will come easy, so you need to continually work at it. It's kind of like a second job. If you want it to continue going well, you've got to keep on working on it," end quote. Uriel, a conservative husband, explained that, quote, "The Jewish version of domestic tranquility, of amity in the home, what Jews call shalom bayis, peace in the home, is a very big concept in Jewish thinking. It is not the notion of a compliant wife who will go along with everything a guy says, and therefore they have peace. It's quite the opposite. They both know how to argue. They both hold their own. I think it's precisely because we can argue that we can do well. That's the secret," end quote. Relational strengths in parenting. We now share some findings on relational strengths in parenting. The three sub-themes are A, ritual facilitates relational success, B, relational success is a duty, and C, God is a relational model. Theme 1, ritual facilitates relational success. When asked how her beliefs or practices have helped her avoid, reduce, or resolve conflict, Aisha, a Reformed mother, responded, quote, "There's a big emphasis in our services on taking responsibility for and forgiving other people, on praying for forgiveness for yourself, praying for healing for other people. It takes you out of yourself, and it works with the kids too, because there's prayers that the parents say to their children. It's a nice bonding thing. It relaxes all those tensions," end quote. Pesha, a mother, reported feeling closer with her children during weekly parent-child blessings. Quote, "Blessing the children on Friday night is a special time when the parents bless the children. It's a beautifully wonderful and tender moment that we do and our children have come to expect. We don't just put our hands on their heads and we bless them. We also each say something to each child about something that we're proud of them that they've done this week. It's just a wonderful thing. We didn't make that up. If we just look at what our tradition teaches us, it was already there. Jewish parents have been doing that for thousands of years," end quote. Theme 2, relational success is a duty. Many participants explained that high-quality parent-child relationships were not a luxury, but rather a duty within Judaism. Benjamin, a 20-year-old Orthodox son, Deborah, his 17-year-old sister, Hannah, their mother, and Eli, their father, discussed this idea. Benjamin, the son, said, "My family argues over little things all the time, of course, like anybody, but we've never had any serious emotional arguments that disrupted general family life. I'm sure that Judaism has a lot to do with that, because you have laws governing how you're supposed to act toward your parents and toward your children. And when you have a legal system, almost that prescribes in what ways you can respond, you aren't so totally at sea as many people are." Deborah, his sister, said, "On how to interact with your parents." Benjamin said, "And your children, it goes both ways." Hannah, the mother, said, "We have mutual respect." Eli, the father, quipped, "We're very wise and loving parents." And then Benjamin said, "Yeah, having respect for your parents is something that is not generally a common trait in this society, but it's impossible to be halakhically observant and not have respect for your parents," end quote. A similar sense of responsibility and equity shared between parents and children seemed to be important to Alexandra, a Reformed mother, who reflected, quote, "One of the things that we do regularly when I'm wrong is that I'm able to tell my daughter, I've been wrong, and this is why I've been wrong, and to ask her forgiveness. It's a really important part of Judaism. If you have wronged another individual, you have to work out the relationship with the other individual before you can get real forgiveness from God. However, that's not why I do it. The real important part to me is that my daughter knows that I'm able to say I'm wrong when I'm wrong. I teach her that," end quote. Theme 3, God is a relational model. Mariah, a Hasidic Orthodox mother, described a Jewish book that helped her use God's example in her parenting. She explained, quote, "It's a book about forgiveness and understanding and using God's example. You don't just make one mistake and God turns his back on you. It's about forgiveness, modeling our own forgiveness and understanding and patience as parents after God's example. I have thought that there are things people could do that you could just never forgive them for, and I'm thinking now that that's kind of harsh. God doesn't do that. I've enjoyed reading that book and applying it to the relationship with our children and how we parent." End quote. Conclusion. Here we provided only a few examples and brief discussion of the ways that Judaism influences marriage and family life. Readers who are interested in learning more about Jewish families, as well as couples and families from other faiths, are invited to look at our book, Strengths in Diverse Families of Faith. Because Judaism is the mother faith of Christianity and influential in Islam as well, and because Judaism is such a familial faith, Christian, Muslim, and other families can learn much from how their Jewish friends live their faith in their homes. We have a great deal of respect, as well as some holy envy, for the ways that our observant Jewish friends honor the teachings and traditions of the Torah to strengthen marriage and family life. We commend a careful study of Jewish family life to our friends of our own faith, other faiths, or of no faith.
Doctors Dave Dollahite and Lauren Marks are both professors in the School of Family Life at Brigham Young University. The American Families of Faith project shares research-based ideas about ways of making faith come alive in marriage and family life.